God is well aware of everything that's happening on this planet. Yet, we are making real choices, right? But God, who I call the master orchestrator. I don't know if I've coined that myself, but I'm claiming it, all right? I might have heard that from somebody. But he's the master orchestrator who's working all things out for his glory and for our good. Proverbs 19:21 says, "Many are the plans in the mind of a man, but it is the purpose of the Lord that will stand." Let me offer an illustration to you. I don't like flying. There's many trips that I did not go on as a kid because I was scared to get on a plane. But when God saved me back in 2004, I began to understand exactly how God is in control of everything. And his sovereignty comforted me. So it was at this time that I asked John Calvin into my heart, and I will scratch that for tomorrow, Pastor Mike. I still don't like flying, but I do it when I have to. And my thought is this: if God wants one of his children to come home, they're coming home, right? He's going to get you one way or the other. If he wants that plane to go down, it's going down. There's not a thing you can say or do about it. You can say, well, I'm not going to get on this plane. I'm going to get on this plane over here. Then it won't be this plane that goes down. It'll be that plane that goes down. Or you say, I'm not getting on any planes. I'm leaving the airport. You get run over by a bus in the parking lot. You say, I'm not even going to the airport. You perhaps die with an aneurysm that night. See how comforting this is? Pastor Byron's like, I do have to fly out on Tuesday, Mike. But the key is that it works the other way too. If God does not want that plane to go down, there is nothing in the universe or outside of the universe that is going to make that plane go down. Let me share with you a recent experience that I had. It was on a plane. We went to the Czech Republic recently, and we were flying back into the United States on the 4th of July. We were flying into JFK. And you may have heard that there was a terrorist threat made against JFK for the 4th of July. And I got wind of this over in Europe. I'm like, great, you know. And so we had a connecting flight in Berlin that we had to rush to get through. So they're running our passport real quick, and I got separated from the group, and I'm walking down the ramp to the plane, and there's this guy in front of me who's acting very shady. He's got a hat on, he's got earbuds, sunglasses on, and he's looking around. And so I'm at the bottom of the ramp. There's a door on the right side, and there was nobody manning this door. It was totally unsecured because it kind of curved around, and the plane was over here, and the flight attendant was handing out mints. He had no vision of this door, and I'm thinking to myself, all the security that we went through, now there's this unsecured door. What the guy does is he goes over to the door, and he opens it up, and he goes like this. So I start to get a little nervous. He does it again, goes over. Now I start to get a lot nervous. What is he looking for? So the line kept moving, and we got onto the plane. And where I was sitting more towards the back. He was in the front, but we both had aisle seats. And so I'm standing by my seat, and I'm watching him because he didn't sit down. And I'm keeping my eye on this guy. And he gets heading towards the front again, towards the ramp. Except he doesn't go to the ramp. He goes around the front and down the other aisle all the way to the back of the plane behind the last row of seats. I'm like, oh no, he didn't. No. And this is what I see. You have my perspective. He walks back. He comes back like this. This is the last row of seats. This is what I see. He crouches down and hides behind the last row of seats. So I'm going back, and I'm like fighting over people. They're trying to get their baggage in the overhead compartment, and I'm pushing them out of the way. I got to get back to this guy. And I walk back there, and I look at him, and I said, what are you doing? And he just looks at me. Didn't say anything. I said, I asked you a question. Why are you back here? And this is what he does. He goes like this. He goes, I'm stretching. I said, I need to see your boarding pass. I'm not kidding. He goes, do you work for the airline? I said, no, but I'm a concerned passenger on this plane. And so now people are turning around. There's this commotion, probably freaking out a ton of people. And so the flight attendant comes back. This guy comes back and he goes, is there a problem here? And I'm like, yes, he's being weird. And I kid you not, he turned and he looked and he goes, he's stretching. I'm like, no, he's not. He's not stretching. I said, you need to get his boarding pass, run his name on that no-fly list or whatever y'all have in Germany, and you need to check him. And the guy's like, sir, go back to your seat. Everything will be fine. And I'm like, all right, will you talk to him? He goes, yeah, I'll talk. So I go back to my seat, and the guy goes back to his seat, and he sits down, and I sit down. They go through the whole deal, like the plane is ready to take off, but there's a delay. And then a different flight attendant, a lady, comes back, and she comes to me, and she says, you're wanted up front. She goes, will you come with me, please? I'm like, absolutely. I'm walking down the aisle like total hero mode. I'm like, I'm saving lives up in here. And I walk up front, and there's like 6 or 7 of the crew standing. They're all looking at me. And they're like, what's your problem? I said, my problem? I said, did you talk to the guy? And I explained the whole deal about the door and him going to the back. And they're like, we talked with him. Okay, everything is okay. We want to know if you will be okay. That's really what they said. And you know what popped into my head was God's sovereignty. That's what popped in. I thought, I saw something that only I had knowledge of. Pastor Mike was sort of aware of what was going on. He was looking at me like, what is going on? And I'm like, I didn't want to talk about it because everybody around us would start going nuts. So, I had to act upon that. But at this point I said, I've done enough. I trust the Lord. And I left. I shook all their hands. I was trying to make nice. I'm like, you won't have any problems out of me, okay? And I walked back, and I had to walk by the guy in his aisle seat. So I'm walking, and I slowed down, and I glared at him. I was like, no, I didn't do that. But I go back to my seat, and I'm sitting there, and, the plane takes off, and the guy's sitting there, and for 2 hours, this is me, watching him for 2 hours. And I finally decided, watch a movie, do something else. You know what happened? The guy didn't do a thing. He sat there for 8 hours, didn't get up once. I had the seat right by the bathroom. I thought for sure he's going to come back. We're going to have more of an issue with him coming back to the bathroom. He didn't move. He stayed there the entire time. And so there were a few things going on there. There were like players, all with their own agenda and plan. My plan was to stay alive. I didn't want to die that day. I would like to say it was about protecting our missions team from living water. I don't think it's good to lie during a sermon, so it was all about me. But I'm not in control. I don't have the power, but God does. Here's the question, though. Could God have used me to frustrate that dude's plans? I don't think you can say that's impossible. It's entirely possible. We don't know. I could have just freaked this guy out. Whatever he was going to do, he didn't do. Could God have used that guy to frustrate my plans of having a nice, comfortable flight? Yes, he did. We don't know how this is all being worked out. We have no clue. But we know this: the Lord's will prevail. His plan will win the day. How do I know that? It says it. It says it right here. That's how I know.